Ms. Elaine Porter took a deep breath before walking through the big doors of Westfield Academy. It was her first day as the new math teacher. She fixed her simple blue jacket and straightened her back. She needed to look strong. Westfield Academy was not like other schools. Rich families sent their children here. The school buildings looked like a castle with tall windows and green lawns. Most teachers came from rich families too. Ms. Porter did not. She grew up in a small apartment with her mom who worked 2 jobs. As she walked down the shiny hallway, she noticed how quiet it got. Students looked at her, then whispered to each other. Ms. Porter was one of only 3 black teachers in the whole school. She had worked very hard to get this job. She had top grades in college and 5 years of great teaching reviews. But she could tell some people didn't think she belonged here. Room 203, she said to herself, finding her classroom. She put her books on the big desk and wrote her name on the board. Ms. Porter, Advanced Calculus. The bell rang, and students began filling the seats. They wore expensive clothes with fancy brand names. Many carried the newest phones and laptops. Ms. Porter smiled at them, but most just stared back with bored faces. "Good morning, class. I'm Ms. Porter, your new advanced calculus teacher," she said in a clear, friendly voice. A boy in the back row laughed softly. He had perfect hair and a watch that probably cost more than Ms. Porter's monthly rent. The name tag on his desk said, "Tyler Richardson." "Is something funny, Mr. Richardson?" Ms. Porter asked. "Just wondering if you're in the right room," he said. Other students laughed. "Advanced calculus is pretty hard." Ms. Porter didn't show how much his words hurt. Instead, she picked up a marker and wrote a complex math problem on the board. Without looking at any notes, she solved it step by step, explaining each part clearly. "Does anyone have questions about this solution?" she asked, turning to face the class. Tyler's smug smile disappeared. He hadn't expected her to be so good at math. A girl in the front row raised her hand. Her name tag said, "Zora Johnson." "That was really clear, Ms. Porter. I've never understood that kind of problem before." "Thank you, Zora. Now let's start our lesson for today." As weeks passed, Ms. Porter's class became known as tough but fair. Most students worked hard and learned a lot. But Tyler Richardson and his 3 friends, Madison Smith, Blake Williams, and Olivia Chen, always sat together in the back. They were the richest kids in school. Their parents gave lots of money to Westfield Academy. They thought this made them special. When Ms. Porter gave the first big project of the year, Tyler complained loudly. "This will take forever. My father says we shouldn't have to work this hard. That's what employees are for." Other students looked uncomfortable, but Madison, Blake, and Olivia laughed. "The project is worth 30% of your grade," Ms. Porter explained calmly. "Good colleges want to see that you can handle challenging work." "Like you would know about good colleges," Madison whispered, just loud enough for Ms. Porter to hear. Ms. Porter ignored the comment and continued teaching. She was used to proving herself. But what she didn't know was that Tyler and his friends were planning something mean. They were angry that she expected them to work hard like everyone else. That evening, while Ms. Porter graded papers in her small apartment, her phone buzzed with a message from another teacher. "You need to see this right away." What she saw next made her hands shake with anger and hurt. But it would also change Westfield Academy forever. Ms. Porter clicked on the link her fellow teacher, Ms. Hernandez, had sent. Her eyes widened as she saw what was on her screen. Tyler, Madison, Blake, and Olivia had made a private Instagram account called Porter's Punishment. The page was full of mean pictures and words about her. They had taken photos of her during class and added cruel words to them. In one picture, they had put her face on a cleaning lady with words saying, "Finally cleaning up the math department." In another, they had drawn monkey faces around her picture. The comments under the posts were even worse, with jokes about her skin color and saying she only got her job because she was black. Ms. Porter's hands shook as she scrolled through more than 20 awful posts. She had faced mean people before, but never like this. These were high school students, teenagers who should know better. How did you find this? She texted Ms. Hernandez. Zara Johnson showed me. She was added to the group by mistake and felt terrible about what they were doing, came the reply. Ms. Porter sat quietly in her small apartment. The stack of math tests she had been grading lay forgotten. She could quit. Many would understand. No job was worth this kind of hurt. But then she thought of Zara and other students who were working hard and learning in her class. "Thank you for letting me know," she wrote back to Ms. Hernandez. "I'll handle it." Ms. Porter didn't sleep much that night. She saved screenshots of every post and comment. She checked the school handbook and found the rules about bullying and racism. The words were clear: zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind. She printed everything and put it in a folder. The next morning, she asked to meet with Dr. Williams, the school principal. He was a tall, thin man with glasses who had been nice to Miss Porter, but he also worried a lot about keeping rich parents happy. Dr. Williams looked through the folder slowly. His face grew more serious with each page. "This is terrible, Miss Porter. I'm so sorry this happened to you," he said, closing the folder. "But I need to be honest. These students' parents give millions to our school. The Richardson family just promised money for our new gym. Perhaps we could give them a warning first." Miss Porter sat up straight in her chair. "With all respect, Dr. Williams, the school handbook says zero tolerance. That means no second chances. If we let rich kids break rules because their parents give money, what are we teaching them? What message does that send to other students?" Dr. Williams took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "You're right, of course, but this will cause problems. Sometimes doing the right thing does," Miss Porter said. They talked for 3 more hours. Dr. Williams called the school lawyer. Finally, he agreed to support whatever punishment Miss Porter thought was fair. "Thank you," she said. "I'll talk to the students tomorrow." That night, Miss Porter again couldn't sleep. She knew what she had to do, but it wouldn't be easy. These students' parents could make big trouble for her and the school. They might even try to get her fired. She updated her resume, just in case. The next day in class, Ms. Porter taught as usual. When the bell rang, she said, "Tyler, Madison, Blake, and Olivia, please stay after class." The 4 friends smirked at each other. They thought they were too important to get in real trouble. They had no idea what was coming. As the other students left, Miss Porter connected her laptop to the big screen at the front of the room. What happened next would change everything at Westfield Academy. The 4 students sat in the front row, looking bored. Miss Porter closed the classroom door and turned to face them. "I want to talk about a serious matter," she said calmly. She clicked a button on her laptop, and the first image from the Instagram account appeared on the big screen. Tyler's smile dropped. Madison gasped. Blake and Olivia looked at each other with wide eyes. "I've seen every post on Porter's punishment," Miss Porter said. Her voice was steady, but inside her heart was beating fast. "I've seen the edited photos, the cruel jokes, and the racist comments." "It's just jokes," Tyler said, trying to sound confident. "Everyone knows we were just having fun." Ms. Porter clicked through more screenshots. The room was silent except for the soft sound of the computer. "Do these look like jokes to you, Dr. Williams?" Ms. Porter asked. The students jumped in surprise as the principal stepped out from the back of the classroom. They hadn't noticed him standing there. "No, Ms. Porter, they do not," Dr. Williams said in a serious voice. "They look like bullying and racism to me." "This is stupid," Olivia said, flipping her blonde hair. "My parents gave money for the library. You can't do anything to us." Miss Porter took a deep breath. "Actually, we can, and we will." She opened the school handbook to a marked page. "The school rules are clear. Zero tolerance for discrimination. You've all broken this rule many times." Tyler laughed, but it sounded nervous now. "So what? Detention. Saturday school." "No," Ms. Porter said, "You're all expelled, effective immediately." The room went completely quiet. The 4 students stared at her with open mouths. "You're joking," Blake said finally. "She can't do this," Madison told Dr. Williams. "Tell her she can't do this." Dr. Williams shook his head. "Ms. Porter is right. The rules apply to everyone, even you 4. My father will destroy this school," Tyler said, standing up and pointing at Ms. Porter. "He'll have your job by dinner. Both of you." "That's your choice," Ms. Porter said. "But first, you need to leave the campus. Security is waiting to walk you to your lockers." As if on cue, 2 security guards appeared at the classroom door. The 4 students looked shocked as they realized this was really happening. "This isn't over," Tyler hissed as he grabbed his expensive backpack. After they left with the security guards, Dr. Williams turned to Ms. Porter. "That was hard. You did well." "It's going to get harder," she answered. "Their parents will be furious." She was right. By lunchtime, her school email was full of angry messages. Mr. Richardson had called the school board for an emergency meeting. Mrs. Smith had called a lawyer. Mr. and Mrs. Chen demanded Ms. Porter be fired at once. Blake's father had even called the local newspaper. "Maybe I made a mistake," Ms. Porter told Ms. Hernandez in the teacher's lounge. No other teachers were sitting with them. Many seemed afraid to be seen as taking her side. "You didn't," Ms. Hernandez said, "but get ready for a fight. These families aren't used to hearing the word no." That night, Ms. Porter couldn't eat dinner. She looked at job listings online, sure she would be fired soon. Her phone rang. It was Dr. Williams. "The school board meeting is tomorrow at 4 p.m., he said. His voice sounded tired. "The Richardson family has convinced half the board members to vote against us already. So I should pack up my classroom?" Ms. Porter asked. "Not yet," Dr. Williams said, "but I have to be honest. It doesn't look good." After they hung up, Ms. Porter sat in her quiet apartment, wondering if standing up for herself had been worth it. She didn't know that across town, a student named Zora Johnson was gathering evidence that would change everything. The next day at school was hard for Ms. Porter. Students whispered as she walked down the halls. Some teachers wouldn't look at her. By lunch, everyone had heard about the 4 expelled students. Zora Johnson sat alone in the library, typing fast on her laptop. She had been quiet all year, but she was angry now. Tyler and his friends had been mean to many students, not just Ms. Porter. Zara had saved proof of all of it. "Are you okay?" Ms. Porter asked, seeing Zara sitting alone. "I will be," Zara said. "I'm going to the board meeting later. I have something to show them." "That's brave of you," Ms. Porter said. "But you don't have to get involved." Zora looked up from her computer. "Yes, I do. What they did to you wasn't right. And it wasn't the first time they were cruel to someone." The school board meeting was held in a big room with a long table. 10 important-looking people sat behind name tags. Most were rich parents who gave money to the school. Dr. Williams and Ms. Porter sat on one side of the room. On the other side sat the 4 expelled students and their angry parents. Mr. Richardson, Tyler's father, wore an expensive suit and a red face. "This is outrageous," he shouted, standing up and pointing at Ms. Porter. "My family has given millions to this school. You can't possibly let this woman ruin my son's future over some harmless jokes." "The posts were racist, Mr. Richardson," Dr. Williams said calmly. "Our rules are clear. Rules can be changed." Mrs. Smith, Madison's mother, said with a cold smile. "Especially when the next school building needs funding." The board members looked uncomfortable. The head of the board, Mr. Johnson, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should consider a less severe punishment. A suspension, maybe." Ms. Porter's heart sank. They were going to let the students come back, all because their parents had money. "Before you decide," a voice called from the back of the room. "I'd like to speak." Everyone turned to see Zora standing in the doorway. She wasn't alone. 5 other students stood with her. "My name is Zora Johnson," she said. My daughter, Mr. Johnson, the board head, said with surprise. What are you doing here? Showing the truth, Zara answered. She walked to the front and connected her laptop to the big screen. Tyler, Madison, Blake, and Olivia didn't just attack Ms. Porter. They've been bullying many students, especially those with scholarships or different backgrounds. She clicked through dozens of screenshots. Messages where the 4 students made fun of poor students, posts where they laughed at people's clothes or accents, plans to trick a Muslim student into eating pork. They sent these from their phones during school hours, Zara explained. It's all against school rules. The room was silent. Even the angry parents couldn't speak. And I'm not the only one they hurt, Zara said. She turned to the students behind her. Tell them. One by one, the students told their stories, how Tyler had stolen and posted a Spanish-speaking student's private journal, how Madison had spread lies about a scholarship student's family, how Blake and Olivia had locked a boy in the janitor's closet because of his stutter. Why didn't any of you report this before? Mr. Johnson asked, his face pale. Because their parents own half the town, one student answered. But Ms. Porter was brave enough to stand up to them. So now we are too. Mr. Richardson jumped up again. This is ridiculous. Children tease each other. It's normal. This isn't teasing, Dr. Williams said. This is bullying and discrimination. The board members looked at each other. The mood in the room had changed. Ms. Porter sat straight in her chair, hope growing inside her. Maybe standing up had been the right choice after all. The boardroom was quiet for a long moment after the students finished sharing their stories. Even the big clock on the wall seemed to tick more softly. Mr. Johnson, the head of the board and Zara's father, looked at his daughter with new eyes. Zara, why didn't you tell me about this? He asked. Would you have believed me? She answered simply. Tyler's dad plays golf with you every Saturday. Mr. Johnson's face turned red. He looked at the other board members, then at the angry parents of the expelled students. I think we need to vote, he said finally. All in favor of upholding the expulsions, raise your hand. Slowly, hands went up around the table. 7 out of 10 board members voted to support Ms. Porter's decision. Mr. Richardson slammed his fist on the table. This is not over, he shouted. I'll pull all my donations. I'll tell everyone I know to take their children out of this school. That's your right, Mr. Johnson said calmly. But our decision stands. Tyler, Madison, Blake, and Olivia are officially expelled from Westfield Academy. Security guards appeared at the door, making it clear the meeting was over. The 4 families stormed out, their faces red with anger. As they left, Mrs. Chen pointed at Ms. Porter. You'll regret this, she said coldly. When the angry parents were gone, Dr. Williams stood up. Thank you for making the right decision, he told the board. It wasn't easy, but it was fair. What happens now? Ms. Porter asked quietly. Now we build a better school, Mr. Johnson said. He looked at his daughter with pride. One where all students feel safe and respected. The next few weeks were hard. True to their word, the 4 wealthy families pulled their donations to the school. 6 other rich families took their children out of Westfield. The local newspaper ran a story with the headline, Elite School Loses Major Donors Over Discipline Dispute. Dr. Williams called a special school meeting. All students and teachers gathered in the big hall. As you know, we've lost some funding, he began. But Westfield Academy is not just about money. It's about learning and growing as good people. Today, I'm announcing new rules to make sure everyone feels welcome here. He explained that the school would start a special group to stop bullying. Teachers would get special training about helping all students feel safe. The school would also give more scholarships to students from different backgrounds. Ms. Porter was asked to lead these new programs. When she stood up to speak, the students clapped louder than they had for Dr. Williams. Thank you, she said, surprised by the support. I'm just a math teacher who believes all students deserve respect. This school can be great not because of fancy buildings or rich families, but because we care about each other. Back in the classroom, things slowly got better. Without Tyler and his friends, other students became more confident. People from different backgrounds started talking more. Zara and some other students started a new club to help everyone feel welcome. One day after class, Zara stayed to talk to Ms. Porter. "My dad told me something interesting," she said. "3 new families are sending their kids here next month because they heard how the school handled the bullying. And 2 more donors have offered money for scholarships." Ms. Porter smiled. So standing up for what's right didn't ruin the school after all. "It made it better," Zara said with a smile. What they didn't know was that across town, the expelled students were about to face new problems at their new schools, and one of them would soon return to Westfield with a surprising request. 3 months passed. The leaves changed color and fell from the trees around Westfield Academy. Inside the school, bigger changes were happening. Ms. Porter's math class was full. Students who once sat quiet now raised their hands to answer questions. Zara Johnson had become a student leader, helping others who struggled with hard problems. One cold morning, Ms. Porter was writing equations on the board when Dr. Williams appeared at her classroom door. "May I speak with you after class?" he asked quietly. Ms. Porter nodded, but felt worried. Was there new trouble with the Richardson family? Had they found a way to get her fired after all? When the bell rang and students left for lunch, Dr. Williams sat at one of the empty desks. "I have news," he said. "Blake Williams is at the office. He wants to talk to you." Miss Porter felt her stomach tighten. Blake was one of the 4 expelled students. She hadn't heard anything about them since they left. "What does he want?" she asked. "He wouldn't say," Dr. Williams answered. "But he came alone. His parents don't know he's here." Miss Porter thought for a moment. "Ok, I'll meet him." They walked to a small meeting room near the office. Blake sat at the table, looking different than Miss Porter remembered. His expensive clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a plain shirt. His perfect hair was messy. Most of all, his smug smile was gone. "Thank you for seeing me," Blake said when Miss Porter sat down. His voice was quiet, not loud and rude like before. "What can I do for you, Blake?" Miss Porter asked. Blake looked down at his hands. "I want to apologize. What we did to you was wrong. Really wrong." Miss Porter said nothing, waiting for him to continue. "After we got expelled, my parents sent me to Lakeside Prep. They told everyone there I was treated unfairly, but the truth followed me." Blake explained that another student had seen the Porter's punishment account and told everyone at his new school. "No one would talk to me. They all knew what I had done." "That must have been hard," Miss Porter said. "I deserved it," Blake said, surprising her. "For the first time, I couldn't hide behind my parents' money. I had to face what I did." "What about the others?" Miss Porter asked. "Tyler, Madison, and Olivia. Tyler's at a boarding school in Switzerland. His dad paid a lot to get him in. Madison and Olivia are at different private schools. They still don't think they did anything wrong." Blake took a deep breath. "But I know we did. And I'm sorry. Really sorry." Miss Porter studied his face. His eyes looked different now. Less proud, more honest. "Thank you for your apology," she said. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong." Blake nodded. "There's something else. I'm at Westside Community College now. My parents were mad, but I wanted a fresh start somewhere. Normal. I'm studying education." Miss Porter couldn't hide her surprise. "Education? You want to be a teacher?" "Yes," Blake said. "Because of you. You stood up for what was right, even when it was hard. That's the kind of person I want to be." Miss Porter felt unexpected tears in her eyes. In all her years of teaching, she'd never imagined having this kind of impact. "That's why I really came," Blake continued. "I'm in a class about teaching methods. We have to interview a teacher we admire. Would you let me interview you?" Miss Porter looked at the boy who had once been so cruel to her. People could change. She knew that. And here was living proof. "Yes," she said. "I'd be happy to help." As they began to talk, Miss Porter realized something important. Sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most. Blake's interview with Miss Porter lasted 2 hours. He asked good questions about teaching and wrote down her answers carefully. When they finished, they shook hands. "Thank you," Blake said. "This will help me with my paper, but it helped me more as a person." After Blake left, Miss Porter sat alone in the meeting room. She thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, she was just trying to survive at a school where she didn't feel welcome. Now she was leading new programs and helping change the school culture. When she returned to her classroom, Zara was waiting. "Was that Blake Williams I saw leaving?" Zara asked, surprised. Yes, Miss Porter told her about Blake's apology and his new path. "Wow," Zara said. "I never thought any of them would change." "People can surprise us," Miss Porter said with a smile. The next week, Dr. Williams called Miss Porter to his office. A letter had arrived from another school across town. They wanted Miss Porter to speak at their teacher training day about standing up to bullying. "They've heard about what happened here," Dr. Williams explained. "Your story is spreading." Soon, Ms. Porter was invited to speak at more schools. She told her story simply and honestly. She talked about the hard days after the expulsions, when she feared for her job. But she also talked about the good changes that came after standing firm. "Sometimes doing the right thing has a price," she would say. "But not doing the right thing costs even more." One evening, Ms. Porter arrived home to find a large envelope in her mailbox. Inside was a course paper titled, "The Courage to Teach." How one teacher changed a school and a student. It was Blake's paper about her. He had gotten an A. With the paper was a note. "I'm volunteering at an after-school program for kids who need help with math. Some days are hard, but I think of you and keep trying. Thank you for showing me what a real teacher is. Blake." Miss Porter pinned the note to her refrigerator. On hard days, it reminded her why she taught. Spring came to Westfield Academy. Flowers bloomed on campus and students sat outside during lunch breaks. The school was different now. New students from more diverse backgrounds walked the halls. Teachers talked openly about treating all students with respect. 1 year after the Porter's punishment incident, Westfield held a special assembly. Mr. Johnson, still head of the school board, stood at the microphone. "A year ago, our school faced a crisis," he said. "We had to choose between money and doing what was right. Thanks to Ms. Porter's courage, we chose correctly." He announced that applications to Westfield had increased by 30%. New donors, who liked the school's new focus on respect and diversity, had given more money than the school had lost. And most importantly, Mr. Johnson continued, "Our students are learning not just facts and figures, but how to be good people." He asked Ms. Porter to come to the stage. The students and teachers stood up, clapping and cheering. Ms. Porter looked out at the crowd. She saw Zara smiling proudly. She saw her fellow teachers, even those who had once avoided her, now standing with her. She saw students from many different backgrounds, all part of one school community. "Thank you," she said when the clapping finally stopped. "A year ago, I was just trying to do my job and be treated with basic respect. I never expected to help change a school. But that's the thing about standing up for what's right. You never know how far the ripples will spread." 2 years passed since the day Miss Porter discovered the cruel Instagram account. Westfield Academy had become a different place. Students from all backgrounds filled the hallways. The walls showed artwork celebrating different cultures. Most importantly, people treated each other with respect. Ms. Porter was now the head of the math department. Her office walls were covered with thank you notes from students and awards for her teaching. But her favorite item was still Blake's paper and note. One morning, Dr. Williams knocked on her office door. "Ms. Porter, I have news," he said. "I'm retiring next year." "We'll miss you," Ms. Porter said. She meant it. Dr. Williams had stood by her during the hardest times. "The school board is looking for a new principal," he continued. "They want you to apply." Miss Porter nearly dropped her coffee mug. "Me? A principal? Who better?" Dr. Williams smiled. "You changed this school. You should lead it." Miss Porter was still thinking about this big news when her phone rang that evening. It was Blake Williams. "Miss Porter, I graduated today," he said, his voice excited. "I got my associate's degree in education. I'm transferring to State University to finish my teaching degree." "Congratulations. I'm so proud of you," Miss Porter said. "There's more," Blake said. "I've been offered a job as a teacher's aide at Westside Elementary. It's a school where most kids come from poor families. They need good teachers who care." "You'll be wonderful," Miss Porter told him. "I'm nervous," Blake admitted. "These kids haven't had many advantages. Not like I had. What if I can't connect with them?" "Just remember what you learned," Miss Porter said. "Treat everyone with respect. Listen to their stories. Believe in them, even when they don't believe in themselves." After they hung up, Miss Porter thought about how far Blake had come. From a rich, entitled bully to a young man who wanted to help children in need. It was an amazing change. The next week, Miss Porter visited Westside Elementary to observe Blake at his new job. She sat quietly in the back of the classroom. Blake was helping a young girl with math problems. He was patient and kind, nothing like the boy who had once mocked Miss Porter. "You can do this," Blake told the girl. "I know it seems hard now, but I believe in you." Miss Porter smiled. He was using her own words. After class, Blake showed Miss Porter around the school. It was old and needed repairs. The books were worn, but the teachers were dedicated. "It's not fancy like Westfield," Blake said, "but good things happen here." "Good things happen wherever people care," Miss Porter replied. As they walked to the parking lot, Blake asked, "Have you heard anything about the others? Tyler, Madison, and Olivia?" "Tyler's at his father's company now," Miss Porter said. "Madison is at fashion school. Olivia is traveling in Europe." "Do you think they learned anything from what happened?" Blake asked. "I don't know," Miss Porter answered honestly. "People change when they're ready to change. You were ready. Maybe someday they will be too." Driving home, Miss Porter thought about Dr. Williams' offer. Could she be a principal? It was a big step. But then she remembered the scared new teacher she had been 2 years ago, afraid to stand up for herself. Look how far she had come. Sometimes the hardest challenges led to the best opportunities. Miss Porter smiled as she made her decision. It was time for a new chapter. 5 years had passed since the Porter's punishment incident. Westfield Academy's main building had a new sign. Elaine Porter, Principal. After much thought, Miss Porter had applied for the job when Dr. Williams retired, and the school board chose her with a unanimous vote. Today was graduation day. Miss Porter stood on the stage in her formal academic robes, looking out at the sea of students in caps and gowns. This was her 3rd year giving the graduation speech, but today felt special. "Today we celebrate not just what you've learned from books," she told the graduates, "but what you've learned about being good people. At Westfield, we believe in respect, kindness, and standing up for what's right." In the audience, parents and family members nodded. Westfield was now known throughout the state as a school that valued character as much as grades. Students from all backgrounds came here, some on special scholarships created after the incident years ago. After the ceremony, as families took pictures and students hugged goodbye, Miss Porter felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see a familiar face. "Blake," she said with surprise, "I didn't know you were coming today." Blake Williams looked very different from the spoiled teenager who had once bullied her. Now 25 years old, he wore a neat tie and carried himself with quiet confidence. "I wouldn't miss your speech," he said. "Besides, I have news. I finished my teaching degree. I've been hired as a full math teacher at Westside Elementary for next year." "That's wonderful," Miss Porter said. "Those children are lucky to have you." Blake smiled. I learned from the best. Then his smile faded a little. There's something else. Someone else is here to see you. He stepped aside, and Miss Porter was shocked to see Tyler Richardson walking toward her. Unlike Blake, Tyler still looked expensive and polished, with a designer suit and perfect hair. He seemed nervous. Miss Porter, he said formally, congratulations on the graduation ceremony. Thank you, Tyler, she replied, unsure why he was there after all these years. I came to apologize, Tyler said, the words clearly difficult for him. What we did to you was wrong. I was wrong. Miss Porter was speechless. Of all the former students, Tyler had seemed the least likely to ever apologize. What changed your mind? She asked finally. Life, Tyler said simply. I worked at my father's company for years. Then I started my own business. I hired a young black woman as my assistant. Last month, I found out some of my employees were making fun of her behind her back. He paused, looking uncomfortable. Suddenly, I remembered what I had done to you. I fired those employees immediately. Then I knew I had to find you and say I'm sorry. Ms. Porter nodded. Thank you for your apology, Tyler. It takes courage to admit when you've been wrong. I've learned that lesson very late, Tyler said. Blake learned it much sooner. He looked at his former friend with respect. As they talked, Zara Johnson approached. She had graduated from Westfield 3 years earlier and now worked for a non-profit organization helping students from poor backgrounds get into good colleges. Miss Porter, the photographer wants a picture of you with the scholarship students, she said. Then she noticed Tyler and stopped in surprise. Hello, Zara, Tyler said quietly. I was just apologizing to Miss Porter for what happened years ago. Zara studied him for a moment, then nodded. Better late than never. As Miss Porter walked away with Zara for the photo, she thought about the strange path that had brought her here. One cruel Instagram account had led to fear, courage, change, and now, years later, to healing. Standing with the scholarship students for the picture, Miss Porter smiled. Sometimes the hardest moments in life became the most important ones. By standing up for herself, she had changed not just a school, but many lives, including her own.